Okay, so welcome everyone to our next episode of the CSF series. Today we have Lulu. We connected over a biodynamic craniosacral therapy talk that I presented on the cerebrospinal fluid, and she reached out, and I just felt like the information that she had collected throughout her entire life experience and particularly with her work was just absolutely fascinating, that I wanted to bring her on the CSF series and have her tell us about her work, tell us about herself, and tell us about her connection with this divine fluid, the cerebrospinal fluid. Lulu, thank you very much for coming. Welcome.
Oh, Mauro, thank you so much for having me. It's very kind of you. Okay, I was just loved listening to what you were saying the other day about the cerebrospinal fluid, and I do orient to it a lot in my treatments. You can't avoid it. But if I could just go back to the beginning
Please.
to a sense that when I realized that actually, we're more than the body, way, way more than the body. So I had an awakening even before I started my training in 2011, and it was a full-on lesser Kundalini awakening. And, I felt in every cell of my body. And then I went through a bit of a crisis. I ended up having a very serious operation, and I was recovering in London staying at a friend's house, and I was 3 days in recovery mode, and not 3 days, 3 weeks in recovery mode. And in fact, the consultant who operated on me lived next door to my friend. So that was extraordinary. And he popped in to see me, so it was a it was a life or death experience. Anyway, but in that moment, I realized that in that room, I couldn't read anything because I didn't have any inspiration about reading, and there was no TV, and I didn't move. And I stayed in this darkened room for 3 weeks. So it's a bit like being in a cave. And I had this amazing experience of linking into, the higher beings, the all, you know. So I thought, oh my goodness, everything is much bigger than we've realized. So I've always been curious. You could say be curious. I've always been curious. And so I kind of link in with my guides, and the kind of wisdom within my body, as they would call it, some of the the older cranial people from the past. And I've do you want me to explain a session? How I would go through a session, or how would you?
Anything that is authentic to you, just in terms of this experience already, how you connect in with the cerebrospinal fluid, how you learned about it, what your relationship is with it.
Other people are listening to this. Are they craniosacral therapists?
Everybody, this is everybody.
Everybody is. Okay.
People are starting to orient to this from all walks of life. So, we're trying to capture a very broad audience who might have a spiritual experience like you, might feel something, a sensation, and kind of look it up or Google it and find this connection with
Yeah.
the cerebrospinal fluid.
Okay.
So broad
Yeah, yeah.
audience for sure.
Broad audience. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I think we're all realizing that the energy of our thought, word, and deed affects the water of our bodies. And with Veda Austin and all her work, and the coding that's within water, it's just an amazing time to be alive and discovering more about water now. The age of Aquarius. It's like you couldn't make it up, really, could you? But when I trained, we were taught to palpate. This is back in 2013. You palpated the energy field at about 3 feet from the body. But it's now there's no one at 3 feet from the body. It's like it just goes, like 12 feet, 20. It could go miles, and it could go even further. So when I tune into, the midline and then into the cerebrospinal fluid, you can, only certain people, I don't do it without an invitation from the client, from their system. So it has to be an invitation. And it's just again, I'm curious. I just see what kind of pops up. And for example, it could be, I just get a sense. I'm sorry, I'm going to close my eyes because this is how I do it. I just get a sense that suddenly I'm, in utero, and I'm a tiny, tiny, and then I thought, oh, that's interesting. Something is popping up, and it feels like there's something that it needs. That the system or the fluid is trying to inform me of something. So I'll just be curious. And like literally about a month ago, this happened, and I thought, oh, when were you born? And she said in 1943, so I thought, and as I said 1943, we had this kind of sadness that came from, whether it came from the choroid plexus when it was, forming, or whether it came from the fluid itself, it doesn't really matter where it came from, but it came from that moment. And there was, you could just feel the sadness of the time that person was developing, from the cells. So that's still there, she's, 80 something, so I just love stuff like that. And if I'm, just tune into anywhere within the body and it does that, but particularly the cerebrospinal fluid, because it's like the starting point, it's like the blueprint for the wisdom of the body. And so it's like holding, I mean, who knows, Veda with her coding, it could be the coding that in the water that triggers the form of the cell to produce a liver cell, to produce a tree, to produce whatever it's producing. So it's a mighty clever water, I think. And I kind of like, so I kind of, how when you hold something in your perception and you're not focusing in on it. So anyone that focuses in on any part of the body, it's like going to a restaurant, standing right next to a couple who are in full conversation, and they kind of go, "Wait, what are you doing?" and they clam up. But if you're in the corner and you listen, you can hear every bit of the conversation of all the tables. So that's what I do, particularly with the cerebrospinal fluid, because it's like pure rawness, isn't it? It's really early. It's early stuff. And you just hold that. And if I just try to describe a session that I do by expanding out. So I'm holding the midline, tuning into the cerebrospinal fluid. I don't often do it from the head, because sometimes I just find it's like a bit invasive. I can tune in from anywhere, and I get the messages of whatever it's in, and then I expand my awareness out into the body, and then it's just very, very slowly, and then expand it further out to like their energy field, and just wait to see what comes up. And you can get all sorts of stuff, ancestral, you can get past life stuff that comes up, and I'm just really curious as to what that does. But then if you widen it further, and you could go out to, to the water, to the streams, to the sea, to the rivers, to the clouds, to the atmosphere, and fill the whole of the world. It's like, oh, yeah, it's really, and you can feel it now. Actually, can you feel it? We've expanded out in our awareness, and it's like, it's letting go of some like heavy, like a numbness that feels like it's lifting off. But don't forget, we're linking into the collective of this. So every single thing that has happened historically for thousands and thousands of years is held in different layers of frequency. So if we're linking into the water, we're linking into all of that as well. So it's quite often not the client, it's quite often the client within the field of everything else. So that's the kind of thing that where I'm coming from. And I had this. I listened to Vader Austin came over to. I'm a big fan of hers, as you can tell. Vader Austin came over to the UK, and I went to listen to, and everybody else we come into contact with as we go out is taking on our frequency. And now it's actually, we need to learn how to understand that the stuff that we're feeling is actually someone else's. It's not just ours, so we just let it go through, and we know we're processing on behalf of someone else. So that's another interesting scenario. But could I just say about this incredible treatment that I had, my curiosity went even further. So, okay, well, I'll tell another one. There was another incredible one, actually, that I was treating someone who's very linked in with whales and water and dolphins. And so I sang the water song when we went out, which was just amazing. And she was speaking in like light language and all sorts of things. Goodness knows what happened. She said she felt codes were coming out of her. So out of her mouth, she could see codes coming out. Anyway, I left it at that. But I had another one that was even more crazy. Now this has completely changed the way I'm working. So another client, again, she speaks in light language quite often during the session. And we went through the process of, I just said to her, because she's a very high frequency person and very beautiful energy. I've worked with her for a long time. And I mean, off the scale with talk about, factory reset. It was like, oh my goodness. It was just, I wanted to cry, actually. It really felt like we had got back to base, to where we came from. So not only, the water in the earth that, I don't know, it's a bit like a homeopathic little drop of of source water, the memory of where it was, but that's what it felt like. It's crazy. I thought, but it made sense. Does that make sense to you?
Absolutely. I mean, even when you describe it, even when you talk about it, it's almost as if you're giving a session to everybody who's listening. Actually, it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, I've done kind of meditations with it as well. So yeah, it just feels, properly connecting. So then the big question is, where is it all held? Where is the kickstart? Sometimes you can have an experience in the third ventricle, and if sometimes the motility of it is a bit like that, and you tune into it to encourage it to just do what it's supposed to be doing. And as you do that, sometimes and they get this, lovely white, really strong energy coming through. I don't know where. It's like the chicken and the egg. Where's the message? Where's it held? I was intrigued with your starfish on the inside of the dural tube, that memory of that very early connection to water. I thought that was fascinating. But I don't know. Well, what do you think? Where does it start? Where does the message begin? It's got to be the water, hasn't it?
That's my hypothesis, yes. And it's omnipresent, so it's not. And it's all connected, right? So the water in my third ventricle is the water in your third ventricle, which is the water, you were mentioning it, the water in the clouds, which is the water in the atmosphere, which is the water in the universe. And it just keeps going and going. And then, yeah, it's quite divine. When have you always been oriented to the water, or what happened in your life that sort of brought you to this, or were you born with this capacity? Because even your movement of, what's happening in the third ventricle and stuff like that, you clearly feel that. There's a felt sense in that. You feel it moving, and then there's an implicit understanding that there's actually a conscious element to this of you are actually there's not only a kickstart aspect of it, but there's also sort of a maintenance aspect of it. And even in the movement of your body, there is this fluid circular movement in the third ventricle that not only can we kickstart with our breath or a session of craniosacral therapy or sound or anything like that, but then there's also frequency and vibrations and sort of activities that we can do to keep it going. So your connection with it is quite powerful. Has this always been present, or did it arise because of through certain practices or something like that? Could you explain that a little bit for us?
I think it's back to the curiosity thing.
Okay.
Because it's not always, I don't always orient to that, but it's just if it comes up within a session, that's where I'm going. The last thing I'm going to do is put any of my thought onto what should happen in a session. It's like the curiosity of it's like, oh, that's interesting. And that's when we really learn, if we don't put any expectations on what's going to happen, it's like, whew, hold on to your hats. It could be amazing. But the fluid, I love the breath work. I'm using that now in my sessions, because particularly the bit around the pelvis, which gets very blocked, it holds a lot of dense heaviness within the human, and particularly that kickstarting that to help it flow out from all the, from as it the motility around the up and down the spine. It needs to get out. It needs to inform the rest of the body that it's okay to let the human patterning that we've created with our own minds and thoughts and deeds and everything we've picked up from this world, that we've created this denseness in the body.
Mm-hmm.
with the way we just created our own reality, haven't we?
Mm. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah, so but I looked up this water, and it's something, it's 140 trillion times more water than on the earth. Floating about 12 billion light years away. so yeah, and if I wasn't curious about it, and I wouldn't have had that picture behind my, and for me that's proof. I don't need to, how can you ever prove that we were originally linked to that water? But for me, it's like, oh my goodness,
Absolutely.
I only need that proof.
Absolutely.
But then it's the deep knowing, isn't it? It's in every cell of your body.
Yep.
Every cell of the water.
And you say as above, so below, right? The well of water behind your eyes is the third ventricle as well, and the lateral ventricles that are present there and that are behind your eyes, literally. And as above, so below, connected to the waters of the universe.
Yeah. We named them in the session eternal waters.
That's beautiful.
And I thought that was really.
So tell us, you've written some books, you have an app. How can people find you? If people are interested in learning more about you, getting a session with you, how can people find you or learn more about you, please?
Oh, that's kind. I'm in the UK. I do distance sessions as well because just demonstrated we're all connected. Yeah, I've got an app which is really, because I felt I was repeating the same thing over to clients, over and over and over again, and I thought actually, I can reach more people. So the app is called Zenpath, it's designed for empaths and highly sensitive people.
Okay.
But it's really for everybody who's disconnected to themselves, because that's what we're going through at the moment. A lot of disconnection, and it's about connecting you, as a soul essence into the physical body. So that's, so I do that. And my book was really about just showing people that there's more to life than living in a human body. It's called I Used to Be Normal.
And they can find it on Amazon?
Yeah.
And if somebody would like to contact you for a session, they look up your name.
Yeah, I've got a clinic called Tanfield Wellness,
Okay.
or they just email me, lulu@lulufarrand.co.uk.
Okay.
But yeah, that's very kind.
Well, that is absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for coming on today to share your stories, not only of your sessions, craniosacral therapy, but also with this connection with the cerebrospinal fluid. Super appreciate it. Thank you very much, Lulu.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I'm just going to stop recording here.